There are numerous rights enshrined in the law and in the regulations that are afforded to residents, and you shouldn't be intimidated. The important thing is that you're not alone. The Long-Term Care Ombudsman is an independent advocate on behalf of residents. They're experts in what resident rights are, what residents are entitled to in a nursing home, and it's very important to take advantage of that. And this is a free service that's offered in every state, every county. Every nursing home has a long-term care ombudsman. There's a phone number that must be provided. If you ask for it from the facility, it must be given to you. You can also go to the consumervoice.org, and we have a map. You click on the map, it will show you who to call. We offer a litany of ways to advocate on behalf of your loved one. And you'll find once you have that information, it becomes easier to become an advocate.
Hi, and good morning. My name is Lori Hendren. I am the Senior Associate State Director for AARP Illinois. You're joining us on a virtual offering we're having here. And just to let you know, AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan member organization that's been working to promote the health and the well-being of older Americans for more than 60 years. Today's virtual event is focused on taking really a deeper dive into the resources you have at your ombudsman's office by connecting you to the resources that can address issues, help solve issues, and give you to the path for some care and support and possibly some resolution, or majority of that. We're going to be talking about that today with two remarkable women who work in the state of Illinois, but the issues they're talking about is reflective for all across the United States. But to get us going, and a welcome from the Illinois State President, who is our volunteer. Welcome, Al.
My name is Al Hollenbeck. I'm proud to serve as AARP Illinois Volunteer State President. AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan member organization. We've been working to promote the health and well-being of older Americans for more than 60 years. AARP Illinois is proud to represent all those in the 50-plus population in Illinois and our 1.7 million members. And we thank you for the opportunity to be your wise friend and fierce defender. AARP's mission is to enhance the quality of life for all as we age, leading positive social change and delivering value to members through advocacy, service, and information. AARP works tirelessly to fulfill the vision of a society in which everyone lives their best life with dignity and purpose, and in which people can fulfill their goals and dreams. Critical conversations, like the one today, are the first step in finding real solutions to the concerns of those 50 plus and their families in Illinois.
Thank you, Al. So today we will be having a conversation with Kelly Richards. She is the Illinois State Long-Term Care Ombudsman, which is on her title, and then often Tiffany Askew. She is the Home Care Ombudsman. So we want to welcome Kelly and Tiffany. And if you're joining us today, it is most important that we hear from you. And whether you're joining us through Facebook or YouTube, put your questions, your comments, or ask for resources in the comments of your feed, and I'll be monitoring those as we go. So let's open up. First, Kelly, welcome. Oh, I think Kelly's just going to be coming with us in a minute. We're going to go to Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Lori. How are you?
I'm good. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your office that you represent.
Absolutely. So thank you for having the Illinois Ombudsman program here to tell you guys a little bit about the work that we do. I am one of the 5 Illinois Home Care Ombudsmen who provide services to those individuals who live in the community of Illinois, who receive services through the Illinois Department on Aging, as well as those who receive services through the Department of Rehabilitation Services, navigate through those services whenever they're experiencing issues, and having issues with their services and want to address advocacy level related issues to get their services resolved.
Thank you. And I think our friend Kelly may be having some challenges on the tech side, which it wouldn't be a virtual event without that. So she'll come back when she can. So Tiffany, I we have gone through some challenging times. We all know it. And, we know that just in 2023, a couple of days ago, if you're in Illinois, the governor just ended the public health emergency to talking about the COVID. But we have our loved ones getting care in their home and also the loved ones getting care in nursing homes. And so this is what we're going to dive into in our next 30 minutes. So just tell me, what is the home care ombudsman? What do you do if my mom or my dad if they're getting medical care at home or non-medical care at home? And where do you come in to help?
Okay, great question, Lori. I first want to say, and this is really important. So the Ombudsman program across the board is participant driven. So all of our direction comes directly from the participant. So whenever we receive a complaint or a referral from someone in the community or the participant themselves regarding service-related issues, those calls come directly to the Home Care Ombudsman. Once we're involved, we gather information from the participant in regards to the services that they're receiving. We do, in fact, though, have to determine whether or not the participant is eligible for us to get involved, because within the state of Illinois, there are very definitive ways in which the participant is deemed eligible. And one is, in fact, is whether or not they are receiving services that are either provided by the Department on Aging, as well as services provided to them by the Department of Rehabilitation Services. In addition to that, we also represent those participants who are enrolled in both the Medicaid, Medicare Alignment Initiative. And what that initiative is for those who are enrolled in both Medicare and they're enrolled in an MMI plan, all of those services, both the Medicaid and Medicare, are provided through one insurance plan, one insurance company. So all of the services are under one umbrella. So any complaints that we receive from those participants, we again receive consent from the participant to get involved, and then that's when our investigation begins. Once we have consent from the participant to dive a little bit deeper into whatever their issue is.
Okay, so we're going to just do a quick spot check. I think Kelly is joining us. Kelly, can you hear us? Oh, I think we're going to have another one for Kelly here for a little bit. Let's go back to that, Tiffany. So you say, I think this is a question a lot of people have. I don't think I can, my mom or dad, I'm concerned, but I don't think I'm the one who can call if there's an issue. I feel like it's the doctor. Is that wrong, or can anyone call? Can a daughter call, or can someone outside of the home call if they have concerns?
Absolutely. Great question, Kelly. Yeah. Anyone can call. Anyone in the community who's aware of any service issues or concerns that they may have related to the resident in the community who's receiving services, they can call the ombudsman. Once they reach out to the ombudsman, it is our duty to then reach out to the participant and explore whether or not they would want the involvement of the ombudsman. Once they provide us with consent to get involved, if they want our involvement, by all means, we dive right into whatever issue that they're experiencing to help to quickly resolve the service issue that they're experiencing. So yes, anyone is welcome to call the ombudsman on behalf of a member in the community.
Okay. So during your conversation, I've also provided the 1-800 number that is for Illinois that someone can call. But prior to that, I also put in the long-term care ombudsman. That is, if you're joining us with anywhere in the United States, you're going to go to this website and they're going to give you the direct access to your state's long-term care ombudsman and the ombudsman's office. So all the information we're talking about, you can go right there to get it. Or if you're in the state of Illinois, feel free to call that toll-free number. I would love to go through and put every number on the state, but I don't know if we can have that. So let's go back. Let's keep going, Tiffany. So we have someone who is called. The individual has said, a senior says, yes, I want something to move forward. Walk me through those steps. What would an investigation, what would those next steps look like for a family member and a senior?
Yes, absolutely. And so that also obviously depends on the level of what their concern is. But generally, what tends to happen is Whenever an individual calls either on behalf of a participant or the participant calls themselves, those calls are generally, or emails as well, are forwarded to the Deputy State Ombudsman, who reviews the case. And then he will then, his name, sorry, is Joe Danner. And Joe will then share with the identified ombudsman who's assigned to the case the information that was presented. Each ombudsman, once you're assigned a case, will then reach out to that participant who is requesting services. Once we speak with the participant, we listen to their complaint, their concerns. We identify all parties that were involved. We verify that we do have their permission to reach out to the individuals that are involved in their services, whether there's a change to their service, a termination of service, or a denial of services. Once a participant reaches out and shares all the details related to whatever their specific issue is, at that point, then we will then start contacting and getting the additional information as to regards to why the action was made on a participant's case. And then we do and dig further into our investigation to make sure that whatever change, denial, or lack of service provided, we verify whether or not it violates the administrative code or that in terms of the service that the participants receive. And then we provide our advocacy in regards to what the service provider is supposed to do as relates to administrative codes and processes that are in place for participants, especially if anything egregious has happened on the case.
Okay, and so for listeners that are joining us today, we're going to be you talk about administrative code rules. Those are, let's say, how the state has deemed appropriate care needs to be provided and protections in law. And then that's your point of reference, right? Okay, so we have, let me try one more time to get Kelly in today. This is our chart. Kelly, can you hear us? I think Kelly's with us.
Yes.
Kelly, can you hear me? Oh my gosh. All right, so we have a surprise, everyone. We have Kelly Richards with us. She's our state long-term care ombudsman. So so Kelly, I know we've worked a lot together. She is our state's long-term care ombudsman. So Kelly, can you tell viewers the difference between a long-term care ombudsman and a home care ombudsman?
Absolutely. And good morning, everyone. So the long-term care ombudsman, we're a free advocacy program, and we actually go inside the long-term care facilities to advocate for residents that are living in long-term care. And we take complaints from anyone, no matter what the source of the complaint is. We will go in and have a conversation with the resident. Because the program is resident directed, we have to start with the resident, centers around what the resident wants and what the residents need. So we go in and we have conversations with the residents. We talk to them about whatever their concerns are, and we have to have permission to act on whatever it is that they want us to advocate for. And so the difference between us and the home care ombudsman is we strictly deal with residents that live in long-term care, whereas the home care ombudsman work with participants that live in the community.
Okay, very good. So there is a question already, and thank you for all of our viewers. Great question from Facebook. Can you supersede a POA? That's our question. So I know that's lacking a lot of like elements to it, but it's not the supersede, but you come in on behalf of a resident. I want to clarify that. Tiffany?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Kelly. Go ahead.
I can take that. So we work on behalf of the residents. The power of attorney is actually a doc. It's when a person cannot make decisions about their care, or they can't make financial decisions. That's when the power of attorney comes into effect. However, because the program is resident directed, we take it from the resident in terms of whatever it is that the resident wants, regarding their attorney in place for the resident. If the resident has capacity to make decisions for themselves, we're going to take the direction of the resident. However, if the resident has reached a point where they cannot make decisions on their own, then we will take direction from that power of attorney.
Okay, very good question. Okay, so next one we have, can we contact the state ombudsman and ask the quality of a facility prior to a patient being admitted into long-term care? So before a loved one is put in, can
Well,
they call you for advice?
Well, typically what we do, absolutely, anyone can call us, and we'll be happy to have conversations with families or residents. What we generally do is we direct residents and family members to the federal government's website, Care Compare, and that gives them the information they would need in terms of what any care issues are, any surveys that the facility has recently had, the number of staffing that they have. So we would direct those persons to that website. We also have a website called the Consumer Choice website that is similar to the Care Compare. It just doesn't have all of the facilities that are in the state, but it's similar in the same respect that people can go there and look up the facility to see what they offer.
Okay, very good. So I just put up there your Compare Care site so people can write those down. So let's go back as we continue to get questions, and you're welcome for those viewing us today. So let's go to, we talk a lot about rights. So let's talk, what is the resident's right? I mean, we go into a long-term care facility, none of our rights should change. They should be empowered and fully protected. But what are those, and what are you advocating for on behalf of residents? Go ahead, Kelly, and we'll go to Tiffany on that one.
Lori, you bring up a very good point. Oh, okay.
Go ahead,
Lori,
Kelly.
you bring up a very good point. When residents go into long-term care facilities, they get extended rights because they are residents of long-term care facilities. Because residents, their rights don't change because they have gone into a long-term care facility. The same things that they were doing in the community, they should be able to do at home. They should be able to visit whomever they to visit. They should have access to their doctors, whomever their doctors are. They should be treated with dignity. They should have privacy. They should be able to eat whatever it is that they want to eat, of course, with a doctor's order. If a doctor says that they have to be on a special diet, they would need to follow that diet. But the residents have the same rights and even more rights than us living in the community.
Okay. Tiffany, this is for you. So what role does a ombudsman have in a hospital? Let's say my loved one is in intensive care. I feel like she's not getting, my mom's not getting turned. I see bed sores. I don't feel there's a level of care. Do we reach the ombudsman's office for help in that situation? Tiffany.
Well, generally in hospital settings, usually when we're involved is and there is a participant who is in a hospital setting, is generally because we were already involved prior to the participant going into the hospital. And so one of our main objectives is making sure that when the participant is released into the community, that all the appropriate services are being set up efficiently and effectively. So once the participant is discharged from the hospital, all of their services and care is set up so that they can the continuity of care is continuing as they transition. But generally, while the hospital ombudsman, we really don't have too much say in terms of the work that the medical providers are providing to those who are hospitalized. It's mostly when they're transitioning from the hospital into the community in which the ombudsman are generally involved.
Okay, that's a very good point. So that's if you're prior home care or long-term care, then you could carry with the case, but it is when you're outside that hospital setting. That's a very good point. Yes. So there's a lot of opportunity to give back, right? So during COVID, we all became champions of care, champions of making a difference. Are there volunteer opportunities for individuals who want to help the ombudsman's office? Kelly.
Absolutely.
There we go. Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. There are volunteer opportunities across the state. We have.
We are losing Kelly, and so I'm just going to go to Tiffany. So I hear her say yes, absolutely. In Illinois, I'm just going to put the 800 number that is up there. I think that's kind of your point of contact if people are interested in volunteering, because you said, so would you believe there is a need And what would that need? I mean, what would a volunteer be able to do to help?
Yeah, so pretty much on the long-term side of things, there is always a need for volunteers and involvement, especially going into the long-term care facilities. At this point, we on the home care ombudsman side of things, we don't generally use volunteers so much because for the most part, we do have to go into the homes of many of the participants. So there's a level of privacy that we have to make sure that we are upholding. And as well as, again, the program is participant driven. So if the participant wants directly the direct involvement of the ombudsman, we have to make sure that we are living up to the wishes of the participant as it relates to who has access to their services or who has access to their information and services, as well as who is involved in providing them with the resolutions that they need. So again, we do, because it is participant driven, from the home care ombudsman side of things, we generally don't use volunteers, but on the long-term side, there's a definite need, and it's an ever-growing need of volunteers to get involved with learning the role of the ombudsman and how the ombudsman are resolving case issues for those residents in the facilities.
Okay, so let's talk about when you call in. Let's say my aunt is in a long-term care and I walk through and I see something that's atrocious, but I am very afraid that if I call and say Lori Hendren, they will automatically associate it to my aunt. Are those calls anonymous, or when I call in, are they anonymous, or do the facility automatically know, well, Lori Hendren called in about her aunt again, guys, here we go. And I'm going to be honest, I have the fear of retribution to my loved one. So are calls anonymous?
So for those who are calling to the ombudsman program, yes, your information is kept anonymous. We do not share that information. However, if you're calling on behalf of a participant, we will contact the participant to say, hey, someone called, you had a concerning neighbor that called, or a concerning friend who called on your behalf, and they're concerned about your level of care or the services that you're getting, and they really think that we should get involved to make sure that everything is okay. Do we have your consent to get involved and figure out what's going on? It, again, is at the discretion of the participant whether or not the ombudsman get involved. We can't just jump right in, regardless of who calls on behalf of the participant. We can't get involved without their consent first. But yes, the information of the person who called is kept anonymous.
Okay. So do you guys investigate, I don't even know if that's the right term, when complaints come in and allegations of abuse, neglect, or exploitation? Or does someone automatically call the police department, or do we call you first? What do we do?
So as it relates to abuse, neglect, or financial exploitation, that would be handled by Adult Protective Services.
Okay.
Again, whenever anyone calls on behalf of a member and they're having or participant and they're having concerns about those specific abuse, neglect, or financial exploitation, we will advise that they reach out to Adult Protective Services. Now, there have been cases, particularly on the home care ombudsman side of things, in which we have received participants that we're currently working with will say, well, I was working with the homemaker and I believe some of my personal items were stolen. I don't know what to do. Can you advise? And so again, as that assigned ombudsman, we can't make the call to Adult Protective Services, but we can advise the participant or if they have a power of attorney agent that's assigned, on the steps of what they would need to take to get involved with that level of investigation as it relates to abuse and neglect, as well as fraud and financial exploitation.
So what would be some examples of financial exploitation?
Okay. In most cases, that from the home care ombudsman side of things, generally when we have concerns about financial exploitation, it's when a participant, for example, they may have a guardian, or they may have a power of attorney agent, or they may have a family member that's caring for them in the home. And that family member is using their own the participant's financial resources as their own resources, and the participant has shared that concern. Well, I received my Social Security benefits and they're supposed to cover all of my bills for the month, but somehow my light bill wasn't paid, but my family member was supposed to pay that bill for me, so I don't know what happened. So that would be an example, if the participant is concerned that the family member is using the participant's resources for their own personal gain or benefit.
So maybe power is a heavy-handed term, but what type of authority or protection does the ombudsman come in? I mean, when you come in, do you kind of find a lot of times things get cleared up, or does it take a while? I'm not trying to be loosey-goosey, but how much power do you guys have to come in and protect those that are violated or alleged violated?
So again, the role of the ombudsman is to act in a non-legal advocate role. So we're acting on behalf of the participant to make sure that their rights are being protected. We're also empowering participants so that they have the resources and the knowledge to be able to have a better understanding of their rights, the way that services should be provided, as well as when services are not being provided to you the way that it is written to be provided, then you also have the right to either file a complaint or as well as file a grievance. So the role of the home care ombudsman is to go in and act as an advocate in that light, and that we're asking the participant, what role would you like for the ombudsman to play? Because again, we may say like, oh, from our own personal perspective, you should do this, that, and the other. But the participant may see like, no, I don't want to file an appeal. I don't want to push the nozzle in the other direction, because there may be some retaliatory response. Is what the participant may think. But as an advocate, we explain what those roles are and how, we explain what their rights are so that they can feel more assured in terms of the decision that they're making as it relates to their services. So when it says, when you ask the question, what level of authority do the ombudsman have? Again, the authority lies in the hands of the participant. We just take our direction from the participant to make sure that we're resolving the case as quickly as possible. Now, that's another caveat, because if there's an appeals involved, the resolution could take months. Because we have to make sure, because we're representing the participant during the administrative appeals process. So we have to make sure that we're reviewing the participant's records, whether it's the medical records or the service records from the service providers, as well as any other information that the participant deems necessary to get a favorable decision during the appeals process. And then there's also the matter of grievance. The participant has a right to file a grievance as well, as it relates to poor customer service, the way that a circumstance was handled. And that process may not be as long as an appeals process, because a participant just wants to address their concern and make sure that a higher authority or an administrator knows that they have a concern and that the concern was addressed.
Okay, so it's a couple things that I heard, and we only have about 2 minutes left. So real quick, what's the difference between a grievance? What's the difference between a complaint?
Okay, absolutely. So a grievance is when the participant wants to write out their thoughts as it relates to how they felt they were treated, how they felt the situation in which their services were handled, whether or not there was poor customer service that was provided to them. So we're helping the participant draft up a grievance to submit to their provider to say, this is what happened. I felt discriminated against. My rights were violated. I don't want this to happen again. And I certainly don't want this to happen to other participants. So can you please make sure that these issues are being addressed? Because a part of the grievance is for the participant to also share what resolutions they would like to see happen on the provider level in as well. As far as the appeal is, I'll give an example. a participant received a notice that their services are changing and they have a reduction in services that are being provided in the home. The participant feels, I need all the services that I can get. I don't need a reduction. Can you help me save my services? So as a result, we get involved. We get medical documentation from providers. We have conversations with the participants. We make sure, again, that whatever change that was made related to the participant services are in direct alignment with administrative codes and rules. And if they go against administrative codes and rules, then in most cases we have a favorable decision. We are able to get a favorable decision for participants.
Wow. We have gone through a half hour of Tiffany giving us great knowledge. And I want to thank everyone who's been part of our comments, Kelly, who's been able to come in and out and answer some questions. But during this time, we've been able to provide for you a website that you can get if you're anywhere in the nation. Also for Illinois residents, a toll-free number. Tiffany is going to be your point person for home care. Kelly is your long-term care ombudsman. And sorry, we have to come to an end, but what I'm hearing, we're going to keep doing this. These are important conversations that empower us to be the best family caregiver we can be, the best advocate we can be. So Tiffany, just real quick, any leaving remarks you want to give from viewers that are out there that are scribbling notes and making sure they're gaining as much insight as we get from your very busy day? We have you right now. Any great last thoughts for listeners?
Yes, absolutely. If you have questions, if you have concerns, you're unsure, we are a source of resource for participants. So not only are we, resolving cases, but we also answer questions and provide information and referrals to those. If we're not able to resolve or handle your issues, we are able to refer those cases out or those issues out to resources or share resources with you so that you can connect to the appropriate providers to get matters concerned. So just reach out to the ombudsman. It doesn't matter who you are, and we can try to resolve the issue of the participant as long as they want our involvement.
Wonderful. Thank you. And during this time, I've been trying to post as much of information for contacts. Again, this is going to be your national, so you can find your state, your contact information there. Here's our toll-free number for all of our Illinois listeners. And then there is our direct email right for Tiffany. So thank you so much. Thank you for Kelly being with us. Thank you so much for Tiffany for carrying us this past 30 minutes and giving us this amazing information on how and what we can do and just educating everyone about the resources of the home care. I know it's been very helpful. I feel so fortunate to know that you and Kelly are my go-to people in the state of Illinois. And we want to thank you, all those that are joining us today and have been part of this conversation. It has been one of many virtual events ARP does. If you're interested in more virtual offerings that just need registration, you don't have to be a member to attend. Go ahead and look right here on our website. And we have all of our information, also what's happening in the State House, how we're advocating on behalf of those that are 50 plus in the state of Illinois. So thank you, Tiffany. And on behalf of ARP, I want to say thank you for joining. And this concludes today's virtual offering. Thank you.
From social media privacy checks to getting free copies of credit reports, here's how you can help protect a loved one from fraud. If your parents or older family members are on social media, help them do a privacy checkup on all of their accounts. Make sure their passwords are strong and not easy for others to guess. Search their name online to see if any imposter accounts have been set up. Help them get a copy of their credit report. It's the best way to check if there is any suspicious activity associated with their name. Many sites require a fee, but everyone is entitled to a free copy from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies. You can help them get a free copy of their credit report from annualcreditreport.com. For more fraud tips, go to aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork.